time I saw a plane like that, he went right over the water and over our heads and landed in the water right here. Anyway, Gene died, and we sent his widow some money. We took up, us gunner's mate took up a collection and sent his widow some money, and she in turn sent us cookies out in the Pacific. And of course we go and hide in a gun tub, and because we didn't want to share them with everybody on the ship. 500 guys on the ship and 1,500 troops. So anyway, but I always said, geez, I'd like to thank that lady for those cookies. Well, the war ended and we all went on with our lives. And but in 1980, I used to own a large woodworking business here in Wiscasset and whatnot. And I owned a building across the street here where we manufactured cable reels. But anyway, we retired and my wife and I bought a motorhome and ended up owning 5 of them over the years and traveling everywhere. But during that period, I said, wouldn't it be nice if I could find Gene White's kids? So that started me on a search that took 3 years. We went on a computer, on the internet, we did everything. We finally thought that they came from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. And about, maybe 5 years ago now, I went on the internet and I found the name John Eugene White. And I called this fellow up. I said, this is going to be the strangest phone conversation you've ever had. And I said, my name is Howard Cederlud. And a friend of mine was mortally wounded at Okinawa. And I wonder if you're any relation. After a long silence, he said he was my father. Oh my God. So I found the kids. I found the kids 57 years after the war, and I've since been to see them. They've been to see me. They've come to our ship's reunions. I've presented them with a letter that their mother wrote in 1945. That's where I got their names, John and Nancy. And because those kids kind of think I walk on water, but they never knew what ship he was on or anything about it. The mother couldn't talk about it, but suddenly I had found them. And so it's been a wonderful experience for all of us.
We're with Howard Cederlud, and he's actually one of the World War II vets that are down here to welcome the Warbirds here at Wiscasset Municipal Airport today. And he's just got a fabulous story. You just heard a little bit of it. Howard, what were you flying in World War II? What type of planes?
No, I didn't fly a plane. I was a gunner's mate. And I was on an attack transport. It's called an APA, and USS Menard, great ship. And we got involved in Okinawa, but then we got involved in another mess, and that was we were the first ship that went in Nagasaki after they dropped the atomic bomb, right up to the bomb site. And we brought occupation troops up there, and that was quite an experience because of it's not nice to talk about, but all the bloated bodies in the water and this kind of thing. It was just kind of a terrible mess. But and then we get in a typhoon. For 5 days off Okinawa. The waves 80 to 100 feet high, and many ships sunk in that. And so anyway, it was quite an experience.
I'll tell you, there's no way that we can express our gratitude enough for everything that you men did, and it's so nice to have you visit with us today. Are some of the aircraft here with the Texas Legends, or some of those planes familiar to you?
Oh, absolutely. And when I saw the Japanese plane, I won't tell you what I said, but I had those are just terrible. They just terrible. And but the other planes, the Corsair particularly, was good because we had a lot of trouble trying to identify the different planes, and the way they taught us was that they show us a quick silhouette of a plane, and you had to learn to identify it quickly. And some of the Japanese planes were very similar to the American planes, but especially Mitsubishi bombers and some of those. But anyway, the Corsair was nice because it had gull wings and we could see it, and that was good. We could recognize it and know we weren't shooting at the wrong guy. And
most of your service was around Okinawa then?
Okinawa, yeah, and I was only in Okinawa for a short time. I was only there for 9 days. Really? And and then we went off and got occupation troops to go into Japan. And interesting thing about Japan was that you often ask, well, why in the world did you go to Nagasaki? What the military did was they just activated the invasion plans for World War II without the shooting. And so we went in exactly the same place we were going to go if the war hadn't ended. Really? And thank God that it had ended, because when we went in Nagasaki, there were mountains on each side of the the river going in there, and every one of them had great big cannons on it and had a Japanese sentry with a rifle, but his rifle had a white flag on it. And then every gun emplacement was marked with a white sheet over the porch, like the houses. And it seemed like almost every house had a white flag over the porch. So there was guns everywhere and suicide boats. There was thousands of them there just waiting for us. And yeah, I'm often asked, you know, should we have dropped the atomic bomb? And you ask any of us that were over there, and the answer is absolutely yes, because we think it saved so many lives. They thought there'd be 1 million Americans killed in that thing over there. Or 1 million people, I guess, killed in that thing if we had to invade it.
The vibe at that time really was that the Japanese and the Germans were bent on world domination, right?
Well, I went in the service when I was 17. I tried to get in sooner. All of my friends were in there. It seemed like a great many of them getting killed and whatnot. And I think all of us that went in there really, it was not we didn't feel it was a fatal thing, but you sure had a good chance of getting killed and going in the war. And so you kind of separated from your girlfriends and things like that. I certainly did that. And but yeah, it was just a completely, and I think the reason I went in, I just couldn't imagine my mother becoming a slave to the Japanese or the Germans, because every place they went in, they turned the people into slaves.
Right.
And of course we now all know the horrors, and more now than ever. And I just came back from Sweden yesterday, and my relative over there had just come from the gas chambers over in Auschwitz or whatever it is over there, and she'd visited there, and she's, you know, the horrors of that thing that went on. So
yeah, that's the experience I heard from my grandfather. My grandfather was actually a member of the cavalry in Poland and was captured, and he was put into a concentration camp in the prisoner of war side. And yeah, he went back and visited it years later, and just an amazing story when you could get him to talk about it.
I've been to Normandy, and of course walked amongst the graves, and this is quite an emotional thing. And
very humbling.
yeah, it is. And yeah.
Now, you wrote a book, and you share this book online for anybody that would like to know?
Yeah, many. Well, I had a lot of stories to tell, and so people kept encouraging me, you should write down these stories. They're going to be gone after a while. And, you know, what was it like? What were the bathrooms like? And little details like that, and how many troops did you carry and whatnot. So about 5 years ago, I started to write this book, and it took me, I think, 2 or 3 years. And yeah, and of course, lots of the guys that at our ship's reunions contributed things to it, and particularly things like, you know, we were in a typhoon out there, and all of us thought we were going to die in that thing, because we all had our life vests on. But what in the world good it would have done? You know, the waves were so high, and so anyway, I wrote it, and it's in the Nimitz Museum and the Legion of Valor Museum out in Fresno, California, and this kind of thing. And but it's online. It's a free download, and many, oh golly, people from generals to admirals and everybody else have read it that have contacted me, and they wanted me to get it published, but I said no. I said this is for everybody to have, and so.
Well, that's quite a gift. How can people get it online?
Just USS Menard.
USS Menard.
Yeah, APA 201, and up will come our website. And there on the website it says the Menard book, and it's a free download, and I think it's 90 pages long, and it tells what it was like.
We'll make sure we link to that on flyingnorthamerica.com as well. Howard, thank you so much. This is such a blessing to be able to visit with you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure being here. I'm so happy to see these planes here. I think it's great. It's great for Wiscasset, and it's good.